All right, so for you Oklahoma fans, if you missed it, Oklahoma had some big news over the week. Five-star offensive tackle Michael Fasusi. Hey, he's a Sooner now. I think we're all a little excited there. But now we got to dive into what this is going to mean for OU football in general and what it's going to mean on the recruiting trail. Because I think his commitment has a way to impact OU on both sides. So today I'm joined by Jay and Coop from over at Unfair Sports. What's going on, guys?
I'm doing
What's
good.
going?
Jake, how you feeling?
You know, it feels good to wake up to a 5-star commitment, and then 2 days later see the meltdown from everybody else about said 5-star commitment. It always feels good. Also, it even feels even better when the guy that lands that commitment starts seeing his former players get paid in the NFL. Gosh, man, it just feels amazing.
You got to wonder if that was timed a little bit because that was just perfect timing. But it's been a lot of fun to watch the Texas fans all of a sudden act like they just didn't need Michael Fasusi or he wasn't going to be an impact at Texas right away. It's just funny to watch them melt down in that way and act like the best left tackle in the 2025 class wasn't going to be an impact for the University of Texas.
Yeah, if
That's a
only
fair
we could
point.
all have the generations of success that Texas fans enjoy to where you don't have to, you can just miss out on 5 stars and just, it's all right.
Yeah, means nothing. It means nothing.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they turn it around this upcoming year after Kelvin Banks leaves. I'm curious to see who's going to take that left tackle spot since Michael Fasusi ain't going to be there. But talking about the impact that Fasusi is obviously not going to give Texas, got to talk about what he's going to give Oklahoma. And I want to start about on the recruiting trail because he catapulted your class from number 11 to number 8 with 247. So Oklahoma at this point, I think, holds the cards to land a top 10 class. But in the wake of his commitment, we've heard quite a bit of news around people that Oklahoma could still target. And it doesn't appear that they're done on the offensive line. Obviously, Andrew Babalola, the other five-star offensive tackle, still out there. You've also got another guy lurking that is probably new to a lot of people, in Austin Pay, floating out there as well. And then, of course, Lamont Rogers. We've talked about him potentially flipping from Mizzou back to Oklahoma. Michael Fasusi, Sean Hutton, they have a pretty good relationship with Rogers. So I think a lot of people expect that one. So what's y'all's thoughts around how Michael Fasusi here could impact this recruitment for Oklahoma, whether it's any of those three? We'll start with Coop.
Well, yeah, I mean, going with this year, Fasusi also has a decent relationship with Babalola too. And if you're wanting to form together a line that's going to get a lot of national recognition, that's something that you can easily do when you got a bunch of studs playing together. So if you want to bring in a Babalola on top of Fasusi, Foje, Afalava, and Hollenbeck, I mean, that gives you another set of core pieces to go in and really just do some damage in the SEC. And each one of these guys, the measurables are there. Those things they're undeniable. So if they all have the same workmanship mentality that you see out of the guys that's already in the fold, then you've got a big smile on your face if you're Coach Beatonbow, because he has been he's obviously not getting any negative press when Creed Humphrey's new deal drops. OU offensive linemen are making close to $100 million in the NFL this year. And you still have Big Trent, who has another contract pending too. So, that's kind of how it affects them this year. One of these, it's one more spot. I don't think that you're going to have a lot of other guys, line up at this point, but you got one more spot that you could still look at the right guy for.
Hopefully Oklahoma is, of course, still in the runnings for some of these other players because, as Coop mentioned, it was nice to have two of them, right? Last class, we technically got one tackle. The rest can play multiple positions, but Isaiah Autry-Den is really a tackle. So you're going to need to start getting ready to reload some of those players that are about to potentially be gone in the next couple of years. And it's good to have offensive linemen in your system for at least a year or two. it makes you feel better. Now, some guys are just really good, right? Fasusi is probably good enough to go ahead and just run right in there and play, but you also want to, have some guys there in development in the system to where once they get to their redshirt sophomore year and they go out there, they're a force to be reckoned with automatically.
Yeah. Now, looking at this recruiting class, what do you think the impact is for Fasusi to sway a guy like Babalola, another 5-star offensive tackle, to commit to Oklahoma? And the reason why I ask this is because, I was kind of starting to get off the Babalola train a little bit, thinking, you know what, if you land Fasusi, although Babs is likely to play on the right side of the offensive line, it just feels like there's too much depth there. There's too much talent in this class, especially with what you occurred last year as well. So, do you think Fasusi, as a peer-to-peer recruiter now, can impact a recruitment like Babalola or Rogers to sway them here and, basically be like, you might be another depth piece or you might start, but just come play with us because we can be that great?
I don't really think it's that simple, right? In just telling them kind of what they can or cannot be. It feels like more of a let's come in here and work together type deal. Because put it this way, simply put, all players want to play with good players. Don't let anybody lie to you. I mean, I know that there's always these arguments around, like, especially in the NBA, about who's the GOAT and things of that nature. You won't find a single player that won't complain about playing with people that are quote unquote inferior. All players want to play with good teammates. They want to play with guys that have got good work ethic and ones that actually care about success. And so the biggest selling point is, hey, you know that I'm rated as one of the best. You've seen me play before. I would love to join up with you. That way we can build one of those offensive lines that's historically known by Oklahoma, right? I remember that one year with Jason White, I think he was sacked like 4 times the entire season because that line was basically the Secret Service. You want some stuff. Players want to do stuff like that. They want to get their names in like a legacy type setup, while at the same time, it makes their job a lot easier when everybody around them is good, right? So I don't sense that it's going to be one of those. You could be a depth piece, or it's more of a let's build together and then see where it goes.
Yeah, you're going to get more recognition just as a group when everybody on that line's good. If you have Michael Fasusi and then 4 dudes that are just guys, it's not going to be as easy, because then your offensive line is giving up 40 sacks, and a lot of people will point that as a weakness, and that that affects you right away from the first days that Fasusi is going to play as a Sooner. So if you can say, hey, listen, Babs, you come here, we do several different things, very, very well. We're going to be playing underneath the best person. This is a program on the rise. Like, these are the decisions that I made. Plus, I know that we have other dudes in front of us and other guys that are joining us. So the best 5, we can do great things together. Because if you have 2 or 3 guys on preseason watch list for all conference, all American, and then, you're also on the preseason Joe Moore, list, that's going to help your draft stock. It sure as hell does not hurt your draft stock. Plus, it's a piece where, if Babalola wants to come in and, to join a guy like Fasusi, after January, those stars don't mean a dadgum thing to either of these guys. Now it's time to get in here and go to work. And now they have, because like I said, I don't think that you're going to get on All-American watch list your first year, even if you were a 5-star, unless, you've got, just a good reputation going. And I think that that's something that, starts this year with a new crop of these Oklahoma offensive linemen, to where, you have continued momentum. And so when those watch lists do drop in the future, people will give the nod because they understand that Oklahoma has done it for years in the Big 12, but now they're doing it in the SEC.
Now, as far as trench play goes here, Michael Fasusi being one of the biggest prospects in this class on the offensive side in the trenches, it seems like Oklahoma at this point is willing to play ball. Last year we saw it on the defensive line. This year we're seeing it on the offensive line. And so you would have to imagine recruits are going to see what just happened with Oklahoma landing a 5-star offensive tackle in Michael Fasusi, and a guy that wasn't even in their own state, because the last one that Oklahoma landed was Bray Walker out of Oklahoma City. A lot of people just at that point expected Oklahoma to win it. This one, I think, was a little bit more of a battle, and I think would resonate more with recruits and with people across the country. So as far as Michael Fasusi committing to Oklahoma in the trenches, do you think this helps Oklahoma going forward with offensive line and defensive line recruiting, letting recruits know we're willing to step up in this realm of the ballpark?
Jay.
Yeah, I think in a way it does. But this is the thing that I would like more Sooner fans to understand when it comes to recruiting at Oklahoma. It sounds amazing to take all these 5-star players and get every single one of these good ones, right? If they don't fit what Oklahoma's doing, we're not going to pursue them, right? That's the one thing that most people don't get as to why we go after particular players. Good example, I like to bring up Tyler Guyton because he was, of course, not only mislabeled, but we recognized what we needed and what we could do with him, so we pursued it. Oklahoma has always pursued the players that make the most sense for what they're trying to do. Now, granted, we know that our blue chip ratio is getting higher and higher because this staff understands that these are the type of players that we do need, but there's still the caveat of we want it to be particular players. So you will see in situations we won't offer all of the top 5 stars. Not only do we, A, probably don't believe, it's probably not a chance in this one, or B, we think it's probably not someone that we really want, right? And there's also an chance there that we won't win every single one that we're going to go after. And so do I think this is going to help with more 5 stars? That's a possibility. But the question's always going to be, are those 5 stars the type of player that fits in the type of system that we're going to try to run?
Yeah, and to add in on that, and to even give an example, I think Fasusi, with his athleticism, I mean, you think of a guy like Tyler Guyton, these guys are great at getting to the second level. They are quick to handle their initial blocking and then get out and put hands on linebackers. And so if you've got a guy who is a 5-star and just is a phone booth only guy, and he doesn't get out to the second level as well as what Beatonbow is going to want, then that's a guy that you potentially don't pursue as highly as a 3 or 4-star guy who, just needs some weight management, but moves well and can get out to the second level. So Oklahoma does a lot of pulling with their offensive linemen, with the GC counter. These guys get out to the second level very, very well. And so you're going to want to continue to keep on that. I also think that it's very, very recognizable that, outside of when you look at programs like Georgia and Alabama who have been doing it and by, just running shop in their region really, really well. But, if you're a 5-star guy next year, you have to look at what Oklahoma has, in front of you and wonder, like, man, is early playing time an opportunity for me? There's the old adage that, it's scared money don't make money, but these guys are going to, they're going to think, most of these guys are going to think that they are the best at the position. So does that scare people off? Well, the wrong type of person, I think it does scare off. But if you think that somebody, like a Baker Mayfield who says, listen, I don't care what he just did to Alabama, I'm going to come in and compete and try to play. You want guys like that who are going to come in and want to ball immediately and want to put in the work. So, that from the offensive line aspect, I think it depends on, number one, what does the offensive lineman do well? But number two, what's their mental character? Because, the staff continues to go after guys like Fasusi and Sean Hutton, who are, labeled as team captains before the season starts for this year. Now, on the defensive side, it's iron sharpens iron. Like, I reached out to somebody about, what they thought, a defensive line recruit yesterday, and said, hey, what do you think about Fasusi? That's somebody you're going to be going up against all the time. And he says, can't wait. And, so like, you want that type of mentality from the defenders. And so some of these, 26 guys that you're already in, you can tell them, hey, listen, you're not only going to be going up against a Bill Beatonbow offensive line, but like Bill Beatonbow offensive line that has 5-star guys and 5-star talent across from you. So it's going to make you better. And so it may be a stronger selling point for the defensive line in 26.
Now, you're talking about early playing time here, and this is an interesting topic because I know a player that a lot of people don't want to talk about right now, Caden Green. He got a lot of playing time last year. And I would have to imagine the way Bill Beatonbow showed I am willing to use any offensive lineman in my room at any point in their career as a starter for this team has to play a role in your recruiting. I mean, we saw last year Oklahoma Lake goes out there and gets EPL. That was a huge win. This year you go out there and you get Michael Fasusi. This is probably Bill Bedenbaugh's biggest win in his career. I would assume if Michael Fasusi shows up to campus and he's a starter through halfway through the season, right, or he's starting at the beginning of the season, if Michael Fasusi has a good career, I think Michael Fasusi needs to have a good career. I don't feel like Bill Bedenbaugh can whiff on a 5-star offensive lineman at this point. He needs to develop Michael Fasusi into the talent that we all expect him to be.
There's more to that, though. That's the one thing that I hope to caution people with is it's going to be on Fasusi. It's going to be on his. It's going to be his portion. It's going to be most important. We already have a track record. We just seen Creed get paid. We just saw, we're seeing all of these former Oklahoma linemen, Orlando Brown, right? And when you go down the list of all these players from underneath Bedenbaugh, we've seen them all get paid at the next level. We're seeing McCade Matowers actually on the roster. He's on the IR right now, but he's on the roster. Andrew Rain just made the roster over with the Carolina Panthers. You're seeing his former players do it. Cody Ford's got a job. You're seeing all of the former players underneath him get jobs because they were willing to put in the work for it. That's going to be, we know this, it works. The question's going to be, will Michael be ready to put in the work that he knows he's going to have to do to get there? So on a whiff with any player, to me, when it comes to Bedenbaugh, it ain't on him. It's on the player's work ethic or their ability to go out there and grind it out. Because we have literally seen the full track record of these players ended up getting fat checks because they were underneath Bill Bedenbaugh at one point.
I mean, it's Bill Bedenbaugh's NFL. Oklahoma offensive linemen are making more money this year in the NFL than some universities' entire NFL roster. And so, exactly. and teams that are joining us in the SEC, not to throw shade at anybody specifically, but I agree with Jay. I think that with what you see out of Fasusi currently, his once he went quiet, he put out tapes where he's working, and so I don't doubt that at all. As far as early playing time, it's what does everybody in that room do? Because Caden Green came in not because Caden Green was a high caliber recruit. Caden Green came in because he continued to put the work in, even though that he wasn't playing. And then when you saw guys, like let's bring up Savion Byrd. Savion Byrd is at SMU now, and he's second string. Ben Anderson is the starting right tackle. So these guys, sometimes it takes a little bit of a wake-up call. I'm not going to, I've had plenty of wake-up calls in my life. And so it does determine, what are the players wanting to do? Because if you're told that you're something great your entire life, and then you show up and Coach B gets in your grill and says that you are doing things wrong repetitively, that it takes a very, 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 massive amount of intestinal fortitude to go, okay, I'm going to listen to him and not what I've heard for the past 18 years. So I think if Fasusi finds his way onto the offensive line next year, I don't think that's a great thing for Oklahoma fans just to go, hey, listen, we're going to need him next year. I think that if he outworks guys and he overshadows them, then that's a great thing, because I think Fasusi is a guy that can play offensive guard. He is a guy who does have that capability, whereas I think like a Foje, he needs to be a tackle. He's a longer guy, and that's more of what he is able to do. So, I mean, Fasusi is going to come in and say, Coach, what do you want from me? And Bebo is going to say, I want you to end up as one of my best 5. And he doesn't care. I promise you, Fasusi does not care where he plays if he can get on the field early. Because, again, that also helps your draftability. If you are a top 5 pick, potentially in an NFL draft, those offensive line coaches and those organizations are going to go in and they're going to go, well, I see that you played some guard back when you were a freshman, and you graded pretty highly. So that's phenomenal. We love the flexibility, because they may be a project, may be a team that's not doing too well, but they may have an offensive tackle that's on a last year of a contract, and you may be the heir apparent, but if they want you to play early, if they're going to draft you that high.
Yeah.
Yep.
Makes sense. And Jay, I loved how you touched on the part about how, it might not be beneficial for the fans to think because he's a 5-star offensive tackle, right, that he needs to start right away, right? Or that he's going to pan out. Because I think we do have that connotation because we've talked about it a lot. Michael Fasusi is super talented. Texas fans have told you he's going to get playing time right away at Oklahoma. But it's all about the work that Michael Fasusi is willing to put in. And we know Bill Bedenbaugh, he's only going to play the guys that are putting in the work, that have the correct attitude, and the guys that are, quite frankly, showing out in practice. He's not just going to put out a guy that has potential great talent. So,
yeah, we've seen historically with Oklahoma, you've seen it even with Bama, a lot of your big programs, that a 5-star can come in, he'll sit for 2 years. And it's not because they're not good enough, is that either someone outworked them or they got somebody better in front of them. And for Fasusi, the good thing for him is star rating, he's going to be one of the higher guys to come in here. But at the same time, if some of these dudes have walked in and understand the system, got to the size needed to compete at the next level a lot faster, embody the diet needed and the nutrition needed in order to be at the physical peak to be able to perform the way you need to perform, there's a good chance they're going to be the ones that's going to end up on the field first. And that's okay, right? That means that it's going to take time. He's going to learn the calls, learn the playbook, and then be able to get out there and ball. Now, we've seen where young players have done a good job of saying, you know what, hey, put me anywhere, coach. I just want to get on the field so I can get my feet wet. Put him at a different position. He goes in there, dominates, and then moves around. You can see that as well. There's multiple possibilities. And the good thing for Fasusi coming in is he'll be coming in with another big group of young players. Like, our line will be young in a way next season, right? You'll have the freshman class that came in, which was one of the larger ones. They'll be coming in, and they're in now, and they'll be going into next season as your quote-unquote veterans, most of them as redshirt freshmen. And then you'll still have some of the vet presence that's going to still be around, but a lot of those young dudes are going to end up getting into the rotation, which that's not a bad thing, especially if they know the system and their bodies are ready for it. Fasusi's going to be able to walk in with them, and so there'll be an opportunity to compete. Just no guarantees. And I think I always thought it was funny that anybody said that Oklahoma guarantees anything, because we've seen historically that Bedenbaugh has never guaranteed playing time. You better be able to play if you think you're going to get out there. There's no guarantees. And if you get the job, that's probably one position of anything we know that you worked your tail off and stole that job because you were working hard and you were good for you to get a starting job here at Oklahoma at the offensive line.
And I think it's just important for a lot of fans to understand. It doesn't matter, I think, at Oklahoma, how long you sit as an offensive lineman. If you get the Bill Bedenbaugh stamp of approval, you're going to get drafted in the NFL.
Yeah. Right.
All you need is that Bill Bedenbaugh stamp of approval. And
Tyler Guyton had 1 year of play. Tyler Guyton had 1 year of play on the field. He had like 3 snaps his first season here. 1 year, 1 full season. First round pick.
And it wasn't even really a full season. Like,
right, he did play a full season. He didn't play the end of the year.
Yes. So
and I got to say this is also with Bill Bedenbaugh, he's got a chance to put out 5 guys to the NFL draft that he's working. And every single team in the NFL needs at least 10 offensive linemen. And so people have already, I mean, you talk to Andy Reid, you talk to any of these GMs. The moment that it's a Bill Bedenbaugh guy, they look at them a little bit differently than somebody who just all of a sudden had a great year at, I mean, no shade to anybody specifically, but it was Cincinnati. You could be a great, offensive guard, offensive tackle at Cincinnati, and they're going to put you through the hoops to make sure that you're ready to rock. But when you're a Bill Bedenbaugh guy, I mean, you've got guys, from Tyrese Robinson, like Cody Ford, Andrew Rame. These are guys that even when they aren't drafted, they still go to camp, and you have something different. And you got to think of, the last 5-star offensive lineman that we got. That's a guy who, he had trouble with every aspect of the need from an offensive lineman, to play under Bill Bedenbaugh. And now he's somewhere else. And it doesn't matter at that point, because if you come in and you can't do it under Bill Bedenbaugh, there's something wrong.
Yeah, 100% agree. 100%. So
spot on.
Well, hey, I appreciate you guys coming on today. We actually spent a little bit of time on this topic, so I hope you guys appreciated it. Jake, Coop, where can people find y'all's content? I know you guys do a lot of collaborative content together.
Unfair Sports, and Sooner or Later podcast. Those are our two. A little bit more on the recruiting stuff on the Sooner or Later. Unfair covers pretty much everything, and then Jay's also got like 5 other gigs because he's got all this time in his hands.
Yeah, I don't have any time actually because I decided to take on all of this work that I probably shouldn't have. But no, also you can find me at Locked On Sooners with my guy John Williams. I'm his co-host there, and so yeah, we're just talking ball nonstop. You know, keeps us busy, keeps us fresh, keeps us alive, and in a way keeps me knowledgeable, even though I'm pretty dumb.
Yeah, and in 7 days, a week from today, a week from this very moment, Jay, we're going to be walking into the tailgate party here in Norman. And so it's we're almost there. Sending out hype videos that doesn't help us out. You know, Oklahoma. You know, I want to rip Van Winkle for the next 7 days.
Yeah.
And have y'all seen the temperature check for next Friday?
Yes.
A potential 87-degree kickoff. The Lord is good. If it continues to be that, the Lord is good.
I'm down.
All right. Well, if you guys made it this far, make sure you guys hit that like, hit the subscribe button, join the discussion, and give us y'all's thoughts.